everyone knows the crypto space is just buzzing, right? Especially with all this talk about high growth investments, those 100x altcoins. It's a huge draw. So today, in our deep dive, we want to cut through some of that noise, give you a more strategic way to think about finding those, well, let's call them opportunities. Our mission for this session is basically finding the next 100x altcoin. We've gone through a whole bunch of material guides, articles, analysis looking towards 2025, and we're pulling out the key insights for you.
Exactly. And look, the idea of a 100x coin sounds a bit like a fantasy maybe, but what the research suggests is, yeah, it's incredibly tough. But it is possible. The thing is, and this is what we'll unpack, it's not about chasing hype, not just jumping on trends. It's really about a focused, systematic approach, looking hard at fundamentals, market dynamics, informed analysis, basically, not just pure speculation.
Right. Okay, so let's unpack this. It feels like a bit of an investigation, doesn't it? If we want to filter things properly, what's the absolute first thing, the first filter that kept coming up in the research?
The first filter, and maybe the most critical one, honestly, is the real-world use case. And what really stood out wasn't just if it has a use case, but how, essential is it? The projects that last, especially the with that huge potential. They're not just solving any old problem. Often they're tackling something really painful, a big inefficiency, or maybe even creating a totally new market nobody thought of. If it's just kind of nice to have, it's probably not going to get that lasting demand or, survive a real market downturn.
Okay, so it's about separating the real innovation from just, froth. Makes sense. But once you got that, what the genuine problem it solves, the next question is maybe even more important for a breakthrough. It's the who, isn't it? What did the sources say about checking out the team, the people actually building this?
Oh, absolutely critical. The team. And it's not just looking at their resumes. The articles really dug into some subtle red flags, things you might miss. You have to investigate their track record, sure, but also their transparency. And can they actually deliver on what they promise? Think about it, a team that keeps missing deadlines, even by a bit. Or you start seeing public squabbles. That's not just a minor issue. Those are often signs of deeper problems, right? Cracks that could completely derail that 100x entry. Active, experienced teams with clear, achievable goals. Much higher chance of actually getting it done.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Okay, so solid use case, check. Team looks good, check. What about the size of the coin itself? Where should we be looking? Big established coins?
Yeah.
Or tiny new ones? What's the thinking there for finding that explosive growth?
Well, for that kind of exponential potential, the focus generally has to be on lower market cap coins. I mean, they just mathematically have more room to grow 100 times over, right?
And this is a really crucial takeaway from the analysis. You need sufficient liquidity. That's key. You have to avoid the ones with super low trading volumes. Because even if the price looks like it's going up, you might actually find it really hard to buy or sell when you want to. You get stuck. You could have a profit on paper, but no way to cash it in.
That's a trap. Yeah, can't just look at market cap alone. It's about being able to actually access that value.
Good point. And talking about market viability, the guides mention this idea of a selective alt season in 2025. What does that actually mean for a project's staying power, beyond just the price?
Yeah, that was interesting. The consensus seems to be that 2025, if there's an alt season, it won't be like some past ones where, everything just goes up together, a rising tide lifting all boats. Instead, the expectation is it'll be much more selective. Only the fundamentally strong projects, the ones with real users, real engagement, maybe even actual revenue streams, those are the ones expected to really thrive. So you can't just look at the price chart. You need to dig deeper. Look for signs of real adoption. Is the user base growing? Is the community active, engaged? Is there a sustainable business model there? How does it actually make money? Those are the signals of genuine staying power, the projects that will survive and maybe flourish.
Okay, so it's not just internal stuff.
Yeah.
It's also about who else is noticing, who else is getting behind it. What did the research say about looking for, institutional nods or community buzz?
Yeah, external validation is definitely a big factor to watch. You should be looking for signs of institutional interest. That could be things like major VC firms investing, or maybe even early moves towards something like an ETF filing, though that's often later stage. And alongside that, strong community backing is vital. You see that in positive social media sentiment, yeah, but also things like increasing on-chain activity. That means people are actually using the blockchain, making transactions, participating, high engagement on places like X, Discord. That stuff matters.
Right, the actual usage.
Exactly. All these things together, the institutional interest, the community buzz, they signal momentum, and they help fuel liquidity and long-term interest.
That sounds like a powerful mix. Okay, what about looking back? Does past performance tell us anything useful? Should we try and time our entry based on price history? Or is that just asking for trouble?
Well, you know the saying, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. And that's definitely true here. But it can give you some context. Coins that showed resilience may be held up better during downturns, or ones showing recent upward momentum. That might suggest they're better positioned. The research also touched on getting in early, pre-sales before big exchange listings. That can maximize upside, but you have to be super clear that trying to get in that early also massively increases your risk. It's a definite trade-off you need to be comfortable with.
Higher risk, higher potential reward.
Got it. Okay, so we've hit utility, team, market cap, engagement, support, timing. But in such a crowded space, what really makes a potential 100x coin stand out from all the others? What about just being different, being innovative? Yeah, that's fundamental for the long haul, for building what they call a moat, right? You have to really assess if the project offers something genuinely unique. Is the core tech innovative? Is their approach to tokenomics, how the coin works and is used, novel? Do they have a first mover advantage in a totally new area, something that really sets them apart from competitors? Because strong differentiation reduces that direct competition and helps build a real advantage, protecting its value over time. So just to kind of pull it all together, what the research strongly suggests is that if you really focus on these fundamentals, the use case, the team, the right market cap with liquidity, real revenue and engagement, strong support, and that clear differentiation, and you stay alert to what's emerging, you significantly improve your odds of spotting one of these potential breakout coins. It really is about being incredibly selective.
Okay. So we've got this checklist, this framework. We're armed with all this knowledge. Are we ready to just dive in now?
Whoa, hold on. Here's the reality check. The critical warning. And honestly, we can't stress this enough. The crypto market is highly speculative. Even doing all this homework, ticking all these boxes, most low-cap coins will not hit 100x. In fact, many, probably most, will fail completely, go to zero. So it is absolutely crucial. Only invest money you can genuinely afford to lose. Seriously. And a smart strategy, something highlighted again and again in the materials, is diversification. Spread your risk. Don't bet the farm on one single project. Maybe pick a few promising ones.
Right. Spread the risk. Okay, so you've heard it. This deep dive, hopefully, has given you a more systematic way to think about these altcoin opportunities.
Yeah.
Moving beyond just guesswork or chasing hype, it's really about being informed, applying a methodical lens,
And maybe, just to leave you with a final thought, connecting this to the bigger picture. We focused on altcoins today, right? But these underlying principles, evaluating real utility, strong teams, market fit, they aren't just for crypto. So the question to maybe ask yourself is, where else could these frameworks apply? In your other interests, maybe other types of investments.
That's a great point. Lots to think about there. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope it was useful. And keep exploring, keep thinking critically about all the complex stuff you encounter out there.